Hey guys, welcome to the film room. The Houston Cougars have the #1 scoring defense in the country right now, and this video is going to break down the way that they play and why they're so successful. And we'll do that in 4 areas. We'll start with on-ball defense and how they stunt and scramble, then we'll talk about ball screen coverage, and then we'll look at how they guard off-ball screens, and we'll wrap it up with how to score against a relentless defense like this. But before we jump in, let me tell you about the sponsor for this video. Coaches, if you're looking for a new customizable board, then Hoops King is the place for you. Their website is easy to navigate and you can customize your board down to the most personal details. And having a 2-sided feature will allow you to keep track of everything that you need to come game time. And you can select your line options. So whether you're in high school, college, or the NBA, there's a board just for you, which is one of the reasons the Los Angeles Lakers purchased their boards from Hoops King. And I can personally guarantee you that the logo that you customize on the website will look exactly the same way in person, if not better. And they guarantee swift delivery, so you'll have your new board within 10 days of ordering. The link to their website is in the description, or just type in hoopsking.com. So the thing that makes Houston's defense so difficult is their ball pressure. They pride themselves on making every ball handler uncomfortable for the entire possession. And I'm going to tell you right now, it takes athletes to be able to do this. Coach Sampson has done a great job of recruiting guys who have the ability to guard the ball and not get beat in one-on-one situations, and that's what allows them to play this way and frustrate defenses by pressuring them throughout the entire possession. And one of the small details of their closeouts is you will notice that they always put what I would refer to as a stick hand out on every closeout to make sure that there's constant ball pressure, but it also allows them to contest every shot. But the ability to guard the ball one-on-one and not get beat or need help all the time is probably the most important part about defense, and this is something that Houston does extremely well. Because every offensive scheme, no matter what it is always trying to create penetration and force teams to help. And you will notice in a lot of these possessions that teams don't even have the ability to break the paint, and this all comes back to their on-ball defense, the ability to pressure the ball and keep it in front. But when teams do find a way to create an advantage and get downhill, the way that they stunt and recover back to their matchup without giving up open shots is the reason that they have such a suffocating defense. Now, when we talk about stunting, what I'm referring to is any time that somebody tries to gain an advantage or drive downhill to break the paint, the next closest defender is going to get in that gap and stunt or bluff or swipe at the ball to try and create a steal or at least get him to pick it up. These two things are a match made in heaven when it comes to defense. Being able to pressure the ball but also stunt in gaps is the reason why Houston forces so many turnovers. So typically when somebody drives downhill, if they get beat, it forces these interior defenders to have to rotate over to help, and that's how dump-offs and kick-out threes happen. But because they guard the ball so well and force it outside the paint, and they can stunt and recover, it leads to contested shots like this. Something that makes Houston special that you rarely ever see from teams is when they get put in scramble situations where most teams would be concerned about being at a disadvantage because 21 is now guarding 2 people, they thrive in these situations. So anytime an offense can get 2 people to the ball, the defense is now scrambling because they're at a disadvantage away from the ball. And Houston will almost force these situations because they are so good at scrambling that they can force offenses to throw bad passes that turn into live ball turnovers. And to be able to do something like this requires an unbelievable amount of effort, but you also have to be very connected. And regardless of what style of defense you play, getting 2 to the ball happens to almost every team in ball screen coverage. So you're going to need to know how to scramble, and watching Houston can really help. So let's take a look at their ball screen coverage and talk about how they rotate. They use the idea of a line of scrimmage similar to football, where the guard is going to get over the top of the screen and the big is going to slide and try and stay on that line of scrimmage until the ball is picked up. And now that there's 2 on the ball, they'll have 3 defenders who are in a scramble situation. They're going to try and take away the nearest 3 guys, and the only available pass will be to skip it across the court. So they're willing to put 2 people on the ball because they know they can recover behind it. So once they get into their ball screen coverage, they're matched up on the wing, in the paint, and this backside defender is going to tag the roll man while the big recovers, and he still gets a great contest on this jump shot. And this leads to us talking about the number one thing that separates Houston from almost every other team. So once the offense gets two people to the ball and they look to go high-low, I want you to pay attention to this right here. Their high hands are what separates Houston from everyone else. What you'll see on this ball screen is they go to throw the shake pass, and because of these high hands, the pass is off target, which allows everybody to recover, and they actually end up getting a steal off of it. And this is something that every team can take from Houston. Yes, they have athletes, but they also know exactly where the ball is supposed to go, and it forces teams to throw bad passes and turn the ball over and take bad shots because of these high hands. And once you see this from Houston, you won't be able to unsee it. As this guard comes off this double drag, he knows that there's somebody open towards the middle of the court, but these high hands take away his vision and he ends up throwing a bad pass that results in a turnover. And even when teams have great schemes to take advantage of this coverage, the high hands nullify it. So as the offense slips out of this ball screen, he's wide open because there's no tag defenders in the paint, but these high hands force a bad pass that result in a turnover. So if there's anything that you take from this video that has nothing to do with talent, understand this. Houston's relentless effort to contest every pass is something that you can take to your team that will make you better immediately. Now, one of the benefits of this slide coverage is it works the exact same when teams are running step-up ball screens. So as this screen is set, the line of scrimmage is still here, the big is still going to get to the line of scrimmage and slide, and then they'll rotate to take away the nearest pass out. They'll be in a scramble situation, but because of the ball pressure, it forces errant passes which result in turnovers. And this gives them the ability to ice ball screens as well. So as soon as this ball screen gets set, they're going to keep it on this side of the court and not let them go middle. They get to the line of scrimmage. There's your high hands and your heavy pressure. They load to the ball and try and take away the nearest passes out. And if it does get thrown out, they're in a scramble situation and they have to fly around and recover. And credit to Houston because they can run multiple ball screen coverages. Here they're going to hard hedge, which is where the big comes above the line of scrimmage just to add more pressure, and then he recovers. And they also find opportunities to go under ball screens so that they don't have to get two people to the ball and be in scramble situations. Them having the ability to constantly mix this stuff up just makes them that much harder to predict. And they use this same philosophy when it comes to off-ball screens as well. Now, their primary way of guarding off-ball screens is to chase, and they just have a mentality that they're not going to get screened. And yes, there is some technique to this, but at the end of the day, it's more of a mentality that they're going to chase aggressively and just refuse to get screened. But they also communicate well enough and they're smart enough to find opportunities when switching makes more sense. So on this original pin down, he's going to chase this thing off and not give up an advantage, but then when they go to set this next screen away, they know that it's an opportunity time for them to just switch, not give up an easy cut to the bucket. They communicate and they get a great contest on this jump shot. So here's a look at all three areas of their defense in one possession. You're going to start by seeing this defender chase his man off of this down screen, and once the DHO happens, they go right into their ball screen coverage where they're at the line of scrimmage and they've got great tag help on the roll man, and then they're going to close out, guard the ball one-on-one, and not give up an advantage and force this tough shot for a miss. But even though they're number one in the country, they're not invincible. So let's talk about how you score against this defense. The first key is forcing them to help and then having great spacing and making good reads. So as this defender helps, you're going to have an advantage where two defenders have to guard one, they kick it to the wing, and then they swing it one time to the corner. You'll see this exact same thing happen in this possession where the guard gets downhill, he forces a stunt, and as the ball gets kicked out, this defender gets caught having to guard two. They have great spacing and they get a rhythm catch and shoot three. Another way to create this advantage is by setting step-up ball screens. And the reason why is when they get two to the ball, if their nail help is late rotating over, you can hit the roll man quickly on what's called a short roll, and then you have an advantage from there. And it doesn't always have to be a step-up, you just need to hit the roll man quickly. So here as they go to set this middle ball screen, he gets it out, hits the roll man, and they get the same advantage again. But when you play a great defense, the key is not trying to score on the very first action. here you get this early drag, and he could have tried to throw it to the roll, but Houston was ready for it. But as the ball gets reversed and they set their second ball screen, now you're going to get 2 to the ball. They're going to throw it back to this shake and drive that closeout, and that's how they get 2 feet to the paint with options to kick it out for a catch and shoot 3. And I'll be the first to tell you that having patience against a smothering defense is very difficult because of the pressure they apply. But great defenses are best early in the possession. They can get to their ball screen coverage, they have high hands, they shrink the floor, and they want you to force bad passes that result in turnovers. But if you can take care of it and get to that next action, that's where you can create confusion, and you still might have a difficult shot that you have to make, but you're going to get open looks and not turn it over early. So the hope is that you learned something from this video that can help you and your team. Whether you just increased your basketball IQ, you have a better appreciation for Houston, or you're going to implement this defense or play against this defense, the goal is always to benefit you as the player, coach, or trainer. So if you have questions or comments, leave them below. I'd love to answer them. Thanks for coming through. We'll see you next time in the film room.